Hi ladies and gentlemen. So this video is about how I created this wonderful mobile convertible set. I had this idea because I wanted my YouTube set to look like a home, but I live in an apartment. I can't do the same things to my walls that you can do when you live in a home. So as you can see, this is a styrofoam wall that is removable, and my flooring is not real as well, but I'm giving you like that wood floor effect. So that's like for those of us that live in apartments, we can create our own background without destroying the space, and you can move it to your next apartment and you can keep the same background. It looks like you're living in the same home, but you're actually not. It's a little trickery for you. If you would like to see how I created this beautiful set, please keep on watching. These boards back here are styrofoam boards that I got from Home Depot. I'll place the measurements of this board. You have to make sure it fits your wall. The height on this is like 6 feet. It has to be taller than me because if I stand, it has to go over my head. The wall originally came 8 feet tall, but I was able to cut it down to about 6'2", which is about 74 inches. When I placed that sticky wallpaper that already has an adhesive on the back, I placed it on this styrofoam piece, and I used 3 rolls to completely cover one side of the styrofoam wall. So I'm sizing the contact paper onto the foam wall, just trying to make sure I have the correct amount of rolls to put onto my foam wall. And I needed 3 in all to cover this wall. I'm also lining up the bricks. Just make sure you line them up correctly because it's obvious when they're not lined up. Slowly peel off the paper backing on the contact paper and then place it over the edge of the styrofoam wall. I'm leaving the paper on the back, but slowly pulling off the paper backing and then smoothing down with my hands. I'm going to transition over to using a spatula because spatulas and credit cards, something with a hard edge, gets the bubbles out a little bit better than your hands do. Your hands miss those bubbles. So you're just going to repeat that process. Slowly pull the paper backing and smooth it with your credit card or your spatula or whatever hard edge you have. This process actually took about a couple of hours, maybe an hour and a half. But you do have to take your time, especially when you have a pattern, because you want to make sure everything lines up perfectly. We are getting towards the end, and you can see that there is some paper backing left over on the contact paper. Leave that to the very end when you finish the 3rd roll and completely cover the wall, and you will detach it all at the same time. We're going to start on the 2nd roll, and this is where you have to really pay attention and be intricate. Line up your contact paper with the bricks just to make sure everything's in line. Take your time to do that, and then slowly peel off the paper backing once again. Place it over the edge, smooth it out. Take your credit card or spatula and take your time and smooth out those tiny little bubbles. And again, repeat the process. Pull the paper down, smooth out the bubbles. And if there are some leftover bubbles, it's fine. I do have a little method for those that are using brick wall contact paper. But I'm taking all the paper off finally and smoothing over those edges. If you do have bubbles, you can take a pen and just pop them and then use a spatula to run over them. Because it's bricks, it just looks like it's the original pattern of the brick wall. I also did another styrofoam board here. This one's 2 inches thick. This one's 1 inch thick. Wall number 2 is different from wall number 1 for a couple of reasons. I cut it to 32 inches in width and the height is still 74 inches. It's just thinner. It's 1 inch thick versus wall number 1, which was 2 inches thick. You have a thicker wall if you'd like to hang heavier items on the wall. But I added the contact paper to wall number 2 and placed it in its spot on the wall. As you see, it fit perfectly. And now I'm grabbing wall number 1. You can see on one side I've hung my other backdrop, so I switch it around if I'm doing hair videos. So I have 2 backdrops on one wall. I'll just place wall number 1 in its corner and we're all done. For the flooring, I bought like these thin, I think this is like plywood boards. It's thin enough to transport and not be too heavy, but it's also thick enough to not break when you stand on it. Also used a wood contact paper. I got it from Amazon and placed it on here so it looks like hardwood floors. I'm using the same process that I used to do my wall. I'm taking the contact paper and attaching it to the corners of the wood plank and smoothing it down with a spatula once again, and slowly peeling off the paper backing and smoothing down, and repeating that process. I'm cutting off the excess paper before I actually cut the contact paper towards the end. I'm going to just go ahead and smooth that over the edges so there's no rough edges showing on the other side. I'm flipping over my first piece of wood to join it with my second piece of wood. So the second piece of wood is an extension just in case I want a larger flooring for outfit haul where you would see my floor being showcased, and I may need more flooring so I can cover up the carpet that's beneath it. I don't always have this piece down, but just in case I would like to use it, I'm going to use 1 sheet of contact paper to cover both pieces of plywood. The first piece of plywood had 1 small portion of the wood exposed, so I use 1 part of the contact paper for that and use the rest for the second piece of wood. I am cutting the contact paper where the 2 pieces of wood are joined, so I'm just cutting it with a razor. It's actually an eyebrow razor because I didn't have an actual razor on hand, but I'm using the eyebrow razor just to cut it so I can split it like so. Right now I'm folding over the excess contact paper over the edges of the plywood so I don't have any rough edges exposed. I'm doing it on the first floor piece, and then doing the same to my second floor piece. I'm now placing them into their spot, and you can see how perfect they look. They're perfectly fitted. As for design options on your space, it took me a minute to figure out what my style was and how I can make it affordable. So I got this clock. It is a Sterling and Noble clock from Walmart, and it was only like $7 or $8. This plant was on sale at Walmart for $5. The one thing that was like most expensive for me was this chair. This chair was, I want to say, about $50 for this chair. This is a rug that I got from MAXX, and it was $14.99. And I just folded it in half and placed it on the back. And in comparison to my room, none of my filming equipment is in the way of my living space. It tucks in neatly to this space. This was such a passion project for me. It took me so long to create the concept for this backdrop because I had never seen anything like this on YouTube before. So it was nice to create something that I had never seen on YouTube. Yeah, that's it. If you want to see a review for this wig, you can see it on Wine and Wigs Wednesday. That will be uploaded on Wednesday. If you have any questions, leave them down below. All of the products that I used in this video, I will go ahead and leave those down below, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. I love you.